freedom, pass from hand to yearning hand, and the vision of our fathers spread hope throughout this land, as the dream some fought and died for in my heart becomes my own. I will strive to keep her promise, America, my home. America, America, may God bless America, and freedom reign across America, my home. From the shorelines to the prairies, to the cities great and small, we have reaped the fruits of justice and liberty for all. So
with deep appreciation for the blessings of freedom that we know in this great land of ours, I'm Dr. George Simon, welcoming you to another edition of Character Matters. This is the program where we talk about what I consider to be the defining issue of our time, the character crisis that affects much of the world these days and affects all of our freedoms because they are inseparable. They are intertwined, our freedoms and character. Our freedoms depend upon people of decent character, honoring our country's best ideals and holding firm on her best values. And this is what makes it all possible. It's what makes it possible for us to prosper individually and collectively and to build great societies. And if there were ever a time to embrace that message, it would be this weekend, where we commemorate all those brave women and men who sacrificed, who laid their lives on the line, some paying the ultimate sacrifice, giving up their very lives to preserve and defend these freedoms that we enjoy. Freedom comes at a steep price. Sometimes we have to pay the ultimate price. And if there were ever a time that our freedoms were more under assault, I don't know when it is. I don't know when it has been. Freedom faces challenges from without and from within, like never before. There are forces on this planet right now that would just as soon curtail everyone's freedom and have everyone bowing to the master that they want us to serve and to kneel at their feet as they call all the shots and determine what goes and what does not go, what's permitted and what is not permitted. They would like to rule this world and everyone in it, and anyone who toes the line is safe for a minute until they decide something else. And everyone who won't toe the line and who is branded either an infidel or in some other way branded an unholy and unfit person is expendable. Completely expendable. This is the threat that we face from without. It's a huge threat. It is not just a regional threat. It is a worldwide movement. It's insidious. It's akin to what we were facing at the beginnings of the world wars, especially World War II, when a radical ideology and an ideology rooted in a particular kind of ethnic supremacy wanted to dominate and rule the world, and saw all of those who were unfit, especially certain groups, as not only expendable, but the source of the world's problems and the only true and, quote, final, end quote, solution was to mass exterminate these folks. Genocide. And that's what we're looking at once again, folks. So that's the enemy freedom faces from without, but freedom also faces an enemy from within. And that is our culture of rampant permissiveness, and especially the much more insidious phenomenon of entitlement. I was speaking with someone just moments ago, a person of very wise years, 90-some plus very wise years. And I asked this seasoned citizen what the biggest difference that they could tell between the America that they knew and the America that we know today. And she gave me a very quick response and a very simple response. She said, "Oh, that's easy." She said, "It's very simple." She said, "People today want what everybody used to expect you had to work for." That's simple. The age of entitlement. You have, I want. Not a mindset that nothing is guaranteed, absolutely nothing. That this very life itself is a gift. It's a precious gift. And it's tenuous, and we have an obligation to cherish it. We also have an obligation to cherish our freedoms. And so on this weekend, it's not just another holiday. It's not just another holiday. This is the weekend where we commemorate all of those people who were willing to put their lives on the line to protect the freedoms that we enjoy, these precious, precious freedoms. These freedoms that allow us to prosper, to pursue our dreams, to build, to innovate, to create. And it all hinges on one thing. It all hinges on character. That's the one thing upon which it all depends. Strong individuals of principle and decency, strong families, the building blocks of society, and strong communities. All these things build great societies. And we were once, not just once, but in several periods of our history, truly, truly great. Truly great. We haven't always been great. We've had really dark times in our history too. But we've had some really shining times. And so on this weekend that we remember those folks who have paid the ultimate price to preserve and defend our freedoms, we need to commit ourselves to being the kind of people that we can be for ourselves, for each other, for our families, for our communities, and for this great and wonderful country of ours that depends on us so that we can continue to enjoy these precious freedoms that make so much of what we enjoy possible. There is a direct correlation between the material and cultural prosperity that the various countries on earth enjoy and the degree of freedom that they have. The more oppressive and repressive the social regimes and the more totalitarian the governments in places, the more that is true, the less prosperous these folks are in those countries. And the more freedom that you have, the more government stays out of the way, the more people are left to innovate and create, the greater prosperity is created. That's the reason for it all. That's how we got here. We can't forget that. And we can't forget the folks that pay the ultimate price to defend that. So in that regard, folks, this evening at the close of my program, once again, I'm going to invite you to listen to the entirety of the theme song that we play at the beginning and close at the end of this program. America, My Home, Anthem for the Millennium, a song that my wife and I wrote in 1999, and that has been performed at various patriotic venues on patriotic holidays all throughout the country to audiences totaling over 5 million now. We're going to play that in its entirety at the close of the program, starting just about 3.5 minutes before the program closes. It'll carry us through to the end. I wanted you to hear it in its entirety, feel its message, let it sink in, pass it around. I invite you to visit YouTube, key in America, My Home, or Anthem for the Millennium. Go to my YouTube channel at George K. Simon, or Google America, My Home, or Anthem for the Millennium, or Google any of the keywords for new patriotic songs, great patriotic songs about America. You'll find it. You'll find videos with various performances, video views totaling well over 150,000 now and growing strong. People carrying the message. I'd really love it if you would be one of them. And I'd also like it if you would join the conversation tonight. We're going to have a good conversation about freedom and character, the ever-present theme of this program. We're going to have a good discussion about it. We're going to talk about some of the things in the news today, timely examples, once again, of how our laws won't protect us, only decency will. And I ask you to give us a call if you want to join the conversation at 718-717-8296. That's 718-717-8296. I'm happy to take your call. Well, lots in the news this past week. As you know, the Middle East is on fire because this latest incarnation of a radical Islamist group is gaining more and more territorial control. They are just the latest incarnation of a movement, a worldwide movement, with an ideology that seeks to topple what they consider to be the evils of Rome. And by that they mean Western civilization, the civilization that began with the Roman Empire and later the Holy Roman Empire. It's that civilization that folks in this movement find abhorrent. They find it idolatrous, and in many respects, it is. You know, there's always a grain of truth in every radical movement. We got a call coming in, which I'm going to take. Let's take this call. Hello, and welcome to Character Matters. Hello? Hello? Hello, and welcome to Character Matters. Well, we have somebody trying to call in, but for some reason it's not quite working. So we'll have to let the caller call in another time, and then we'll try it once again. So we'll let the call drop, and then we'll try it once again. Caller, if you can hear me, if you wouldn't mind hanging up, and then try to call in once again. I'd appreciate that. Thanks a lot. So, at any rate, what I was saying before is that this movement seeks to dethrone what they consider to be the influence of Western civilization. There's always a kernel of truth in any of these radical movements, in their ideology. And they find Western civilization idolatrous. They find it immoral. They find a lot of things about it to be God-fearing, and therefore, in their minds, we are not only the root of all evil, but we are, therefore, of necessity expendable. We have to be wiped out. And there's been several incarnations of movements just like this, and there will be others. You can't kill them all. We are not going to win the war in the long run that way. I can tell you that. It was simply not possible for us to win the war that way. The only way we're going to win the war ultimately is by converting hearts and souls, one at a time. Hearts and minds and souls. That's the only way we're going to win it. So, we have to defend ourselves. There's no question about that. If we're attacked, if they're in our backyard, we have to do what we have to do to defend ourselves. But this is not the ultimate solution. This is not what will save us in the long run. What will save us in the long run is converting hearts and minds and souls. And how we do that is by being the kind of people that we can be and creating the kind of society that we're capable of creating. A society where everyone shares in the dream, where everyone participates in the dream, where we share common values, where we embrace common values, when we're all on the same team, when we keep our families together and whole, when we make our communities work, and therefore keep our politics clean. Only when these things happen, only when we become that shining example, that great beacon on a hill that calls everyone to see what it is that we can do with our freedoms and with principle, only then will we convert the hearts and minds of those who would otherwise want to destroy us. This is how we win the war. Ultimately. Yes, we have to sacrifice sometimes, and yes, sometimes we even have to go to war. We have a right to defend ourselves. But that's not how we win this battle. This battle that's being waged right now is for the hearts and minds of folks. And there are plenty of folks, let me tell you, there are plenty of folks who in their feelings of being disadvantaged, they feel disadvantaged. And in their feelings of that, they are very susceptible to messages like, it's not all your fault. It's really the fault of your oppressors. And therefore, if you join us and you join the fight against your oppressors, these evil, idolatrous, uncaring, selfish souls, godless souls, if you join us in the fight against them, you will not only prosper yourself, but you'll be on the winning side. You will no longer be under someone's thumb, but you will be ruling with us. This is a very attractive message to some folks. No longer on the bottom, but on the top. It's a very, very attractive message. So people are signing up left and right. And recently, this week, some information was released about the treasure trove of documents obtained when Osama bin Laden's compound was raided and he was taken and later killed. And among the treasure trove of documents found were these application forms for jihadists who wanted to join up and fight the fight against the evil Satan. Just like a job application for some for some business. Very methodical, very calculated. And these folks are reaching out to the disenfranchised, or those who feel disenfranchised. You know, it is so much easier, it is so tempting for many of the disenfranchised. There are some folks who are disadvantaged through no fault of their own. Discriminated against, poorly treated, not well regarded. There are truly some like that. But there are others who just simply don't get it. They didn't come out of an environment, a cultural environment, where they could get it. Perhaps they had no parents at all. Perhaps they were raised on the streets. Perhaps what parent they may have had was so strung out on drugs, or so absent, so abusive, or so neglectful, that they didn't really have much of a chance. And perhaps they developed a real chip on their shoulder. Or perhaps in order to survive, they joined a gang. Now, I'm not saying that that's always the case. Believe me, it's not always the case. Some people have everything going for them, and they choose to go the wrong way anyway. But it is to these folks who feel disenfranchised, who feel like the current system, who feel like the current infrastructure, the power structure, does not have room for them, does not embrace them, has disowned them, or in other ways disadvantaged them. It is to these folks that these groups that would rule the world are reaching out to and saying basically, you're not the problem. You're not the problem. The problem is the evil culture and the evil society and the evil government under which you live. That's the problem. And they're reaching out to them and they're saying, join us. Join us in this holy crusade to tear down the false idols and to restore human dignity. It's an appealing message by a bunch of tyrants who only want to rule the world. Pure and simple. Their motives are not pure. I have studied these things for so long. Their motives are not pure. That's how they recruit, but that isn't what they want. They just want to rule the world. And city by city, province by province, in a certain area of the world, it's beginning to happen. A great drama is unfolding, and it's insidious. And as I said before, the way we're going to win this war is not by trying to kill them all. We've tried that. You wipe out one group and then another one takes their place worse than the last one. Each incarnation is worse than the last. We used to think that the greatest threat to us was Al-Qaeda. Well, Al-Qaeda, they tremble at the thought of this ISIS because they're so much more brutish, more brutal, more radical. And who knows, there'll be another group maybe come along worse than them, more oppressive. That's the enemy we face from without. But the more insidious enemy is within. It's what we've done to ourselves with our own lack of character and what we've allowed to be exported that gives us such a black eye, image-wise, in so much of the world. In so many ways, we deserve the reputation that we have garnered in much of the world. It's a sad statement. I don't know if you agree with me or not. If you do, or even if you don't, give me a call at 718-717-8296. That's 718-717-8296. I'm happy to take your call. Happy to have you join the discussion. But that's really the problem that we have. That's the problem. And because it is the problem, and because we can't win it any other way, ultimately by converting hearts and minds, it's each and every one of our duties. It's our duty to do our best to honor the best ideals that this country was founded on, and to respect and honor those who paid the ultimate price, to defend our freedoms, our precious freedoms, which make everything possible for us in this great country of ours. And that's why, as I mentioned earlier, at the close of the program, I'm going to be playing the entire theme song that you hear at the beginning and close of this program. Anthem for the Millennium, America, My Home. It's my personal appeal to all of you to keep in mind the duty that we have to preserve this precious freedom of ours, to make the dream your own, to protect it, to defend it, and to do that by being the kind of person that you can be. Because being the kind of person you can be will make you the kind of relationship partner you can be, will make you the kind of parent you can be, will make you the kind of spouse that you can be, will build the kinds of families that you can build, will build the kinds of communities that we can build, and that will produce the kind of great society that we're capable of building. But it all starts at the individual level. That's where it starts. That's what it's all about. So I ask you to join with me in protecting that dream. And at the close of the program, you'll hear America, My Home, my personal appeal for that in its entirety. And if you want to join the conversation today, give us a call at 718-717-8296. That's 718-717-8296. Very happy to take your call. So that was just one thing in the news today, or this past week, was the events over in the Middle East. The radicals have taken over an area of Syria, a town by the name of Palmyra. This is a historic town that has in it some ancient monuments and relics dating BC, early Roman times, Roman Empire times. And of course, these radicals consider all these things to be sacrilegious. So the concern that the UN has and other folks have is that all of these artifacts that tell us something about our history will be destroyed, as this group has been wont to do in times past when they have entered other places that have had historical monuments and treasures. So we can expect the same, probably. An appeal has gone out. I don't know what good it will do, because no one is going to mount the kind of offensive that would arrest the advance of these folks. And even if you did, the likelihood is that there would be destruction in the crossfire. So what you're probably going to witness very shortly is the wiping out of traces of almost 3,000 years worth of history by a radical ideology that wants to rule the world. That's what you're going to see. And that's just one of the things that's in the news that speaks to the issue that I consider to be the defining issue of our time. Now, the other issue is, I hardly know what to say about this. You know, I'm going to give you a little background. One of the things that I have done in my professional career, I did this for about 8 years. I headed up and was the supervising psychologist for the risk assessment program for our state with regard to its sexual offenders, those who committed sex offenses, sexual predators, and other sex offenders. During my tenure, I did almost 3,000 assignments. I also revamped the only prison-based treatment program for such folks. And yes, folks, some offenders can actually be treated. There's no cure for pedophilia, but not all sex offenders are pedophiles. But I did this for 8 years, and I was intrigued, shall we say, when information came out this past week about the Duggar family and their program, their reality program on the Learning Channel, 19 and counting. This is a huge family. I don't know how many of you are familiar with the show, but this is a reality program on a family that prides itself in being a huge family of 19, and they actually want to have even another child. Information came out this past week that one of the now adult children, Josh Duggar, when he was a young teen, molested several young girls, both in the family and outside the family. And interestingly enough, this, folks, is a testament to why you cannot depend on the government or laws to protect you. The only thing that will save us is solidifying character in our young people. That's the only thing that will save us. And for that, we have to rediscover what our values need to be and to promote them heavily and to reinforce them, to universally agree upon them, first of all, and then embrace them and promote them and reward them when they're embraced by others. We cannot legislate this. We have so many books on we have so many laws on the books right now with regard to sexual offenses. It's not funny. And we have this registry and we have community notification. And we live under the illusion that these things can keep us safe. Well, I'm here to tell you, folks, only character will keep us safe. And here's living proof of this. You can't make this stuff up. When it was discovered that this young man, as a teen, had engaged in this behavior, supposedly he was turned in to a law enforcement official. Supposedly, the family approached a law enforcement official in their area. And Josh Duggar fessed up to his behavior. Now, in our state, in the state where this happened, we have laws on the books. Police officers are mandated reporters. They have to report to a hotline that is connected to the Department of Human Services, and they act to make sure that children are safe. And the state police supposedly do an investigation. But you can't make this up. Here's what happened in this case. The family reports to a police officer who, for some reason, which I'll talk about in just a little bit. For some reason, refers this person to some Christian counselor, and as part of rehabilitation, he works on a repair crew, a cleanup, paint up, fix up kind of crew, doing odd jobs like home restoration and painting and stuff like that as rehabilitation. And then, bingo, he's cured. He doesn't do it anymore. It never goes any further. He's not prosecuted. And when another report comes in, the statute of limitations is passed. Now, I don't know. Supposedly that's the case. I don't know that that's true, but that's the way the story reads right now. I have my doubts about that, frankly. But here's where you can't make it up. It turns out this officer that supposedly took this report is serving a prison sentence, a 56-year prison sentence for possession of child pornography. Now, does anybody out there besides me consider it kind of an unusual coincidence that the only officer of the law approached to report this offense against children just happened to be a child offender himself? This is just way too big a coincidence. And I have to say, too, when I was reading the news reports today in the paper, I was just appalled with the paucity of true investigative journalism. There should be an army of reporters on this story, like white on rice, wanting to know exactly what went on here and why. But here's the point I want to make, folks. When you have people of despicable character, people of less than solid character, they always find a way around the rules. Always. Our rules can't keep us safe. They can't protect us. They do not guarantee our freedoms. Our rules are totally and completely dependent upon the willing compliance of those responsible persons of character among us. Those unsavory sorts among us don't pay attention to the rules, nor do they want to pay attention to the consequences of breaking the rules. They're all about doing things as they want to do them. And not being held accountable. It's that simple. And in this case, you can't get any more simple than that. You can't get any more simple than that. That's what happened once again. That's what happened once again. And it'll happen again. It'll happen time and time again. Our rules can't keep us safe. It's that simple. And this is just another great example. And it's also a great example about where our values and our principles need to come from. How cheap it is. You know, there's the old adage, talk is cheap. How cheap it is to profess a certain faith. How cheap it is to profess a certain belief. And how hard it really is to instill character, to embrace values that are difficult to uphold, and how equally hard it is to fess up when you transgress, and here's the even more important point, to pay your dues when you do transgress, to be held accountable, and to pay the price. How hard that is. But that's what will keep us safe, and that's what makes us great. That's what could make us great. That's what has made us great in the past. That's what it's all about. It all hinges on character. In the grand scheme of things, nothing is more important. In my career as a psychologist, I've unfortunately seen all too many families and relationships fall apart for any number of reasons. I hear all kinds of fancy labels applied for why the relationships fall apart. Various quote-unquote addictions, quote-unquote communications problems. I hear all kinds of fancy labels. But when all is said and done, when I look at the hundreds, thousands of cases of individuals who came to me in distress, whose relationships were on the brink, whose marriages were falling apart, whose work relations were a nightmare, it always, 99.99% of the time, came down to not communications issues, not addictions, but character. That's what it came down to. And the warning signs many times were always there, even from the beginning. But people, in their own deficient character, decided that something else needed to trump their better judgment. Maybe they let lust trump their better judgment. Maybe they let fantasy trump their better judgment. Maybe they let emotional need trump their better judgment. The warning signs were there, but they didn't pay them any heed. And then they paid the price. And after seeing that time and time and time again, year after year, I decided that it was time to get the word out there to folks, maybe help some folks at the same time, about what was really going on, what was really at the root of problems, and what we really needed to do about it. So I wrote some books. In Sheep's Clothing, the international bestseller on how to understand and deal with manipulative people. And my second book, Character Disturbance, The Phenomenon of Our Age, an in-depth study of all the kinds of nefarious characters you're likely to encounter in your lives, in your relationships, at work. And my book for the Christian faith community, The Judas Syndrome. I decided to get the word out there about what's really at the heart of what's gone wrong and what's really presenting the greatest single threat to our freedoms. As I said at the outset of our program, we face two great threats, one from within and one from without. From without, the greatest threat right now is this radical ideology that wants to dominate the world and wants to rid the world of what they consider to be an idolatrous, sacrilegious, unholy, and evil Western civilization. That's what they want to do. And they would like to be in charge. And God help them if they get in charge. Because as history has shown, once they're through wiping out all of the quote-unquote infidels, once they're through with that, then they start turning on themselves and each other, trying to figure out which subsection of their believing community is less worthy than the next, which inferior group needs to be exterminated. That's what happens. So perhaps the greatest vehicle for their eventual extinction will be victory over us. But I'm hoping that doesn't happen. I'm hoping that we wake up. I'm hoping that we wake up and we recognize that we've had all too many people die. That's what this weekend is all about. We've had all too many people sacrifice their lives to protect these freedoms that we enjoy. And we have to do our part, each one of us individually. We have to do our part to preserve and defend these freedoms. They are our precious freedoms. And we are in danger of losing them. These freedoms that make our prosperity so possible. So my personal appeal to you is going to be coming momentarily. In just a few minutes, I'll be playing the anthem and carrying it through all the way to the end. I'm happy to be able to do that, by the way, because the end of the song is pretty powerful, and you don't get to hear the very end at the closing bumper of the show. So I'm happy to play it all the way through for you. And I hope that it inspires you. I hope that in advance of the upcoming holidays to come, Flag Day, Independence Day, 4th of July, and also Memorial Day yet to come this year, I hope you'll go to YouTube and go to my website at drgeorgesimon.com. That's drgeorgesimon.com. My blog at manipulative-people.com. That's www.manipulative-people.com. Read what you can on the song, follow the links, or see one of the videos on YouTube. Google America My Home or Anthem for the Millennium. Let the message inspire you. And we have about 3 minutes. If there's a caller out there that's wanting to call in and give their 2 cents about what we need to remember on this Memorial Day holiday, give us a call at 718-717-8296. We don't have a lot of time, but in just a few minutes, I'm going to play the song for you, and I hope that it inspires you, and I hope that it helps you to be infused with the spirit that I think is necessary for us to reclaim what it is that truly makes us great, or can make us great, has made us great in the past, and can make us great again. It all begins at the individual level. It all starts with character. It all starts with the values that we not only embrace, but are willing to die for, to preserve these precious freedoms that we have. That's where it starts. Because when we are decent people, I'll say it again, I'll say it over and over and over again. When we are the kind of people that we can be, then we're the kind of relationship partners that we're capable of being. And then also, we're the kind of spouses that we can be. We're the kind of parents that we can be. We build the kinds of families that we can build. And then we build the kinds of communities that strong, value-driven families can build. And then those communities build a great society. That's how it works. It starts with the individual mind and soul. Each and every one of us has the key. We have the key to the preservation of these freedoms that we enjoy. We can't ever forget that. We simply can't ever forget that. We hold the key. It's up to us. We either preserve these freedoms or we lose them. It's up to us. It's up to us in embracing the values that build character. And with that, I am going to introduce you to the song that my wife and I wrote for the turn of the new millennium, America, My Home. Enjoy and be inspired.
I have seen the torch of freedom pass from hand to yearning hand, and the vision of our fathers spread hope throughout this land, as the dream some fought and died for in my heart becomes my own. I will strive to keep her promise, America, my home. Oh, America, may God bless America, and freedom reign across America, my home. From the shorelines to the prairies, to the cities great and small, we have reaped the fruits of justice and liberty for all. So with deep appreciation for the blessings we have known,